you can imagine the audacity of one man to go up to the greatest institution that has ever been erected and collapse it, right? It's pretty audacious, right? But what he's doing is he's saying the way that he was able to do it, the way that I'm able to do it, the way that you will be able to do it is by, it's not just pride for the sake of pride, right? But there is a certain sense of reverence, just what everybody else has to say, you know? Just do you, right? Because if you are so worried about what people think about you, that pressure to fit in, the facade, is going to lead you to be virtuous, but then you're going to be like everybody else and it's a wrap. So he says, men who have been in any way notable were never such virtuous asses. Their innermost instinct, biological, their innermost instinct, predatory, that of their quantum of power, did not find satisfaction in that way. I really tried to be good, right? I tried to be good, and yes, no, please, thank you, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, can you please help me, bop, bop, bop. And then you just realize that people just want to see you beg. How low will you go? How low will you go? I think you can go a little bit lower. There's that great scene in Larry David, I love him. Larry David has this new, in this current HBO series this year, he's in New York, he goes to a Japanese restaurant, and the guy bows, and he talks to another Japanese friend, and he goes, oh no, that wasn't a real bow. A real bow is like that. That was a fake bow. And he misinterprets the bow. He thinks, well, it's not, you know, he didn't really show gratitude unless he bowed lower. The whole idea is if you are begging for alms, if you're begging the institution, then you are bowing before the institution. And insofar as you bow the institution as personified, I want to see you bow a little bit lower. And if you think that the institution is doing anything other than that, then you are naive and you are going to be gobbled up. Because just my own mentality, as diabolical as it is, I want to see how low you can go. I think you can grovel a little lower. Right? There comes a point at which you have to recognize, oh right, that's right, I can't ask. The whole attempt to grovel debases myself. And I'm not saying what you need to do, but you need to figure out what you want to do. For me, what I did is I recognized that the only way that I could stand erect and not bow and not grovel, and I don't mean bow as an act of respect, I mean bow as an act of servitude, was to equip my mind, right? To be just as smart as I could possibly be, and to get to a level where I'm competing with the best in the business at that level, and then strive to be better than them, and then get to a point where I'm like Michael Johnson, just running against myself. But that's going to take decades, right? It takes a lot of, you got to put in a lot of time. So that's how I went about raging against the machine, if you will. You have to determine what you'll do, because either you will stand or you will bow. There is no in between, right? You will bow at the altar, or you will stand before the altar. You make the determination of what you want to do, right? Nietzsche is freaking. This is why I do what I do, right? Did not find satisfaction in that way. While with your minimum of power, nothing can seem wiser to use in virtue, right? With your minimum of power, of course, what you want to do is be virtuous because you're trying to be like them, right? With your small, not you personally, you metaphorically. You with your minimum power, of course you want to be virtuous. There's nothing you can think of doing than to be properly, I love the bit on etiquette, right? Properly versed in etiquette, right? Because I love the way that he took it literal. Oh, Pipla Pippo. Oh man, you're a monster. And I know you're probably watching this, right? I don't know when you're watching this, but I know you're watching this. You're a monster, right? It's like he not personified, but he really saw the court of etiquette as a court. It was great. He goes, where do you go? Do you go to the judge and you say, you follow the etiquette and, oh please, let me, right? Or do you just grab him and pull him on the ground and you start shaking him? No, you don't do that. You can't do that. There's a certain way that the social order says that this is how you approach people and this is how you were to talk. Here's how you're supposed to sit, and the spoon goes here and the knife goes here. Wear your hair like this, talk like that, act like this. And what happens is they create an order of conformity, so that this social order then creates and mechanizes conformity. Right? Creates and mechanizes conformity, right? It creates conformity. Right? The idea, as Pippo said, of etiquette is to create an institution in which you conform. Right? You conform to whatever the mandates are. But you have numbers on your side. And insofar as you play the tyrant, we shall make war on you. Right? This goes back to my technomorality bit that I had, my kinetic typography technomorality, between the rationalists and the charlatans. I consider myself a rationalist. For the rest of my life, I will be waging a battle against charlatans. People who tell lies about crap. People who spin crap, make crap, talk crap, foolishness. Just people who want to see me bow. I'm not about that. Why? Because Nietzsche says right here, right? He says right here, and insofar as you play the tyrant, the masses, the herd, we, the rationalists, will make war on you. I have to weaponize my mind against the absurdity that's in the world. And I have to find that absurdity as manifests ideologically and deconstruct and destroy it. I'm not here to be friends. I am here to dismantle your illogical arguments. I am here to teach people how to dismantle your illogical arguments. I am here to make logic as accessible as it can possibly be, because when you go and you spout the crap that you spout, they'll be able to logically deconstruct what you're saying and say, that doesn't follow from that. If you say that, you can't also say that. Oh no, but you should recognize that you should be virtuous. Forget that, man. We're not talking about virtue right now. You're trying to get me to bow. I'm not in the business of bowing. Okay? So that's what this is about. Really, that's what this is about. Giving you the tools that you'll need in order to live an independent life. Right? The life of an individual, a unique agent, rather than sort of mass homogeneous mass man, as Jose Ortega y Gasset says, right? So note, power is used to attain satisfaction, right? There are gradations of power: lesser power, greater power. Lesser power, minimum power, weaker power, small power requires virtue. This is important. That smaller type of power requires virtue as a means of falsely amplifying one's power, right? As Nietzsche says, the lesser, the small man, he needs virtue, right? He needs virtue to make himself seem more powerful. So, as we said many notes ago, in his discussion of the sacerdotal class, the priestly class elevates itself in social status because the priestly class says that they have direct access to God. God speaks to them directly. And they know that you want to talk to God, but you can't talk to God directly, so you have to talk to them. They become sort of the liaison with which you access the divine. Well, obviously they're going to be co-opted by those of affluence. They're going to be co-opted by the nobility. And insofar as they're co-opted by the nobility, well, they've reinforced their class socially, right? Compounded by the fact that there was a time at which they were the only people that could speak Latin, right? They were versed in translation. They're very intelligent. They could read in multiple languages, write in multiple languages. Real power that they attained for themselves, right? But this elevation, this amplification is there of saying, I'm virtuous, therefore I'm better than you, right? Oh, you're the type of person who likes to do that. Well, you shouldn't do that. And you say, well, why shouldn't I do that? Because, you know, in my book or in my belief system, in my culture, in my practice, in my family, in my X, we say that you don't do X. Well, I don't ascribe to the stuff that you ascribe to. Well, you know, you shouldn't. Well, why? Right? That's the whole point of this whole channel, is to get you to recognize that there are many different institutions. Almost all institutions have been erected in order to have you conform, right? The last institution, and just parts of it, not much of it, that is